This is Lisa Russick and Misty Lore with the podcast We're All Psychic. And Misty Lore is cracking Lisa Russick up. and we have a guest today. Her name is Theresa. Theresa, would you like to say hello?
Hello. Thank you for having me.
We are very excited you are here. So we have a question for you. Do you think we're all psychic?
I do think we're all psychic. I'm not sure if we all access it, but I do feel like we all have the ability to become psychic if we're not fully aware of it as is.
Okay. So how did you, where did you get that answer? That's pretty much the common answer we get, probably, yes, we are all psychic, but not everybody's doing it or using their energy or whatever. So yes, that's probably the most common thing we hear. Don't you think, Misty?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
Either on the spot.
How did you get there? Have you had experiences or?
So I am one of those people that didn't actually realize that I was psychic for a long time. I grew up in a very haunted house
wow.
as a child. And I remember actually the exact situation of when it happened and I started noticing, I would hear things, I would sense things, I would always feel like someone or something behind me. And I just used to get really creeped out kind of everywhere I was. And the day I realized it was we had the drawstring cords, to the shades. And I had untied them because they would tie into massive knots. And then I would sit there and untie them. I think I was probably 6 or 7 years old. And then a week after I had just untied them, I noticed that they were all in a ball of knots. And I was like, that's really weird and interesting. And then another, I did it again and then I paid attention and it just kept happening. And I asked my mom, I was like, I think our house is haunted. Is this house haunted? And she was like, no, typical dismissing it. And so I started noticing more and more kind of little things that would happen. And my brother would tell us also things that would happen around the house. So then as I started getting older, I had always wanted to be psychic because I thought it was so cool just to have the knowing, not knowing that I actually had the knowing.
I was the same way. I was the same way.
Me too. I was too.
Yeah. But it was cool because it was almost like I would observe myself as a child. So I would experience things, but I would just know things and I wouldn't know how I would know them. I knew when I was younger that past lives were a thing. So I wasn't actually really concerned about what I would be when I grew up because I was like, well, if I don't do it this lifetime, I'm going to do it next lifetime. So it was I was just I'll just do it next time. No big deal. And then even with my calling for healing, I just knew. I remember I was young when Mother Theresa passed. And I was like, I want to be like that when I get older. I think that would be really cool. I just knew.
Were you, I have a question. Were you raised Catholic by any chance? Because, I was going to ask if you ever had the nun calling, if you were raised Catholic or, because I had that and I didn't know what every girl has, I guess. But, for me, I wanted to be a nun, for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't, my mom was, but she never actually raised us religious. She exposed us to church. And I always knew growing up, I didn't know what I believed in, but I knew there was a higher power, but I didn't know if it was God per se until kind of later on in life. But so, that was when I was probably 7 or 8. And then as time went on, more things started happening, definitely within my house, but even in the waking life where I would start to see things or people that weren't actually there. And I remember when I was probably about 17 or 18, I was at my, first boyfriend's house. He had been sleeping downstairs. I stayed in his bed and I woke up in the middle of the night. It was conveniently the night that Boogeyman came out, the movie. Because I was at that time, I was yeah, I love, watching scary movies and stuff. But I had never, they always obviously freaked me out because I had that kind of weird knowing that there was something actually there. And I had stayed over his house and I woke up in the middle of the night to a woman in my face, like couldn't breathe, opened my eyes, had this woman like in my face, basically like attacking me. And I freaked out and I was like, oh my God, I don't know, like, what's going on. So then I just put the blankets over my head.
Yeah.
But, growing up in a house that was super haunted anyway, I just trained myself like not to leave my bed when I was in there. So I didn't like, go downstairs. I was like, nope, I'm just going to like stay here. I'm going to pretend none of this is happening. And then the next day, what's that?
What did she look like?
Scary. It was more of just like I could see her eyes, like literally like she was like face to face with me. I closed my eyes and I could see her eyes like still in my face. It was a really like eerie kind of experience.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
And then
scared or were you frightened? I mean,
I was terrified.
Do you think that she was bad or good, or just scaring you?
I don't know. I don't.
Those are weird. That's a very interesting question, Misty, because sometimes you just don't know what they're trying to say.
I know. That's what I would like to get to.
Yeah.
Not all of them are trying to scare you, but they want your attention.
Yeah.
I don't think they realize it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know now. I mean, looking in hindsight, I know it terrified me. Now I can kind of tell, now I have enough experience that I can tell the difference between what is wanting to come through and what I don't want to talk to.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So, but basically like life went by. I started noticing people that weren't there. I was a hairstylist for like 13 years. And I remember one of the first salons I worked at, I had been working with a girl, just the receptionist, I think, and there was one other girl, and we were at the front desk. And then I was looking back and I watched this girl walk out of the bathroom and then into the back room. And I didn't say anything. And I was just like, what the heck? So without saying anything to her, I walked to the back and I went and I was like, I swear I just watched this woman. Like I could describe her perfectly. I was like, I just watched this woman walk out here, and there's nobody there. So I must be losing it. She's like, oh, it's funny you say that because there are identical twin girls that worked here and her twin sister still worked there. And she ended up getting killed on her way to work. And so it was a former employee and I had no idea.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So
did you feel shocked when you found stuff like that out, or did you kind of expect it, or what happened? What was your feeling when you heard that validation for like several times and you still didn't really?
No, I still didn't really put two and two together. Like an even mediumship, honestly, it's, I've definitely seen people that have crossed or not like here anymore. But I didn't put it together really probably until, I don't know, like maybe 6 or 7 years ago. Wow. I just kind of took it as, I'm watching people walk around, I moved to a new state and was driving home from work one night and saw people in the road slam down the brakes because I thought I was going to hit them. Mm-hmm. And then there was nobody there. Yeah. So I've had, I got deeper into energy healing in my early 20s. So basically those were my earlier experiences. Then about 2021, I hit my kind of like all-time low where I got like extremely depressed, not quite suicidal, but like borderline suicidal, and just hit a really, really dark spot. And I had spent my whole like childhood basically like praying, like, please make me feel normal. I just want to feel normal because I didn't know, that's just.
I know exactly what you mean.
I felt. Yeah. So I hit that point and I was so desperate that I started reading the Bible because I was like, maybe I'm missing something. Like, I don't know, like maybe this will help, save me.
Searching for answers.
Yeah. So I started reading the Bible and I was just like whoever's out there, whatever's out there, like I just need basically a breakaway. I need something. And then one of my old managers, she referred me to a local psychic. I had never talked to a psychic before. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. So I went, I met with her. I ended up being her assistant for a while, which is pretty cool. So, I just like watched her do readings. I got readings from her. And again, I didn't have any idea that I was psychic. And I was just like, oh, this is really cool. Like I'd buy books. I'm like, how do I do this? Like, how do I ground myself and whatnot? And I did that for probably 2 or 3 years, and she ended up moving offices and built on from there, and she brought energy healers in. And I remember I was on like a really bad stint. It was probably like a year and a half, 2 years of just like really bad things happening. Like my car got hit. I got in all these accidents, like just not good things happening.
Yeah.
And she looked at me and she was like, you're going to have to see somebody to fix this. Like I think that there's something else going on. And I was just like, like subconsciously I could feel that, but I didn't know.
Right.
So she had a shaman join her office. And so I was like, okay, like at this point of desperation, I was like, I'll just go see her, see what it's like, whatnot. And that basically was the beginning of changing my entire life. My first session it wasn't like super intense. I don't know have you guys ever had energy healing done?
I just learned Reiki in January. I did Reiki.
Oh, awesome.
Too. Yeah.
Oh, congrats.
So definitely, it's intense. Yeah, it can be at first, especially.
Yeah, so it makes you basically kind of like super tired though, and puts you in the zone. So I left there, and I was like, okay, I don't think this actually did anything. But then I started to notice, a couple months later, that things had started to happen, like shift in my life. I didn't feel the same like emotional triggers that I had been feeling. And then
did you have a soul retrieval by any chance with the shaman? Because I know that's what a lot of shamans do.
Yeah, I've had a lot of work done. I don't know how intense I want to get. Yeah, I don't know how intense you want me to get on my
as much as you feel comfortable with,
Okay.
Because people, we do the podcast so people know what our experiences are, other people's experiences are, so they don't feel so alone. One reason.
This reminds me of myself too when you talk, because you're talking about all these bad things happening to you, and I've always looked at it as I come on the other side of it, is all these bad things were happening because I wasn't on the right path. And every dang time I get on the wrong path, it starts happening again. Yep. And I have to correct myself to get right on the path, or I am up shit's creek. That reminds me, is that how you feel about it?
Yeah, now I kind of have a better understanding for the cycle, so I can kind of catch myself before I get there. But yeah, definitely when I was, setting out, that's how it felt. And she always told me, she's like, when it starts to feel like, stuff is hitting the fan, that it's kind of a clear indication that you're on the right path. And I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense, because as you shift, it shifts your vibration, and then basically everything around you has to shift with it. So it's like,
that's really hard to explain. Now, we've never really talked about that on the podcast. With the energy shifts. I
can do that.
We were going to have one coming up actually on energetic bonds and shifts and stuff. But how would you explain that to people who are just listening to this? Because I don't know how to explain it except downloads and things just, if you feel it in your body, but more in the energy of your body too, so, and when the way you think, the way you feel, what's happening, it is a shift of energy of some sort, like a vibrational shift, like how they always say it. But how do you put it into words, right? Other than what other people have said, that it's kind of just doesn't really express it to me, that whole,
right.
Yeah, it's hard to.
So I've noticed it's really easy. Well, it's easy in hindsight to map out, but I do kind of like soul coaching or like spiritual coaching without advertising it, but I do it on the side. And the way that I explain it to people is there's always like a map that it works. So when you're clearing something or you're working through something, you're always going to first, you have to make the mental decision to do it. So you have to clear the mental body first. Clearing the mental body requires you to actually consciously want to do something, not just saying you want to do it, but consciously wanting to do it, and that you're willing to do the work for it. You're willing to do whatever it takes to do it. Once you clear the mental body, then you end up clearing the emotional body. So that's when it brings up all of the feelings of depression, all of the feelings of I'm missing something, all of the like anger, repressed emotion that's basically been charged to this one thread of energy that you're clearing through. All of that will come up. It's hard to process through, but as long as you're kind of like can sit there and observe yourself as like, okay, this is happening. I'm going to watch this happen, and just process through it that way. Then the next thing you clear is the spiritual body. So once you clear basically the baggage that's been sitting on top of the spiritual thread or cord, then you clear it spiritually. The last part to clear is the physical body, the physical environment. So what ends up happening when you're clearing the physical body is it clears your physical body, like I said, but then it requires like whether it's jobs, relationships, connections,
that's the truth.
Anything and everything, objects you have in your house that have stored energy. It requires all of that stuff to shift out because it's shifting to your new vibration. So it can be really overwhelming for people when they first start out to process through that stuff, because I always tell people the first 5 years is definitely like taking out the trash. It's terrible. It's hard. It's overwhelming. It's
taking out the trash uphill in the snow.
Oh yeah.
And the ice road, and it's like 5 apartment buildings down the road. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Up the
it's
road.
hard. It's hard. And there's a lot of, self-testing periods in that of like, are you committed? Are you going to do it? Are you going to push through this? Or are you going to kind of like backtrack? So when you're clearing through the energy, it's like you have that whole map of everything of just like the 4 bodies and stuff. But like I said, too, after you have a healing, it's kind of like you get that like high the next day of like, oh my God, I feel so good. Like I tell people though, sometimes they'll wake up and it will like, don't be surprised if you basically have to pee a lot because that's your body purging.
Right.
Don't be surprised if you get super tired after, because your mind kind of like what your guides and your team do is they'll like, especially during a healing session or like Reiki, how you like fall asleep is sometimes the mind is going too much and they have to quiet the mind. So they'll kind of make you fall asleep. Even for people that listen to like meditations where they're like, oh, I fell asleep halfway through it. Like, I don't know why I can't stay awake. Well, that's intentional because your guides are doing that so that they can kind of get all the information in there. So like being super tired is totally common. And then, like I said, the next day you wake up, it's totally normal to have like visual shifts, to feel like things just look different, to feel like you have a physical void. Yeah. And then it's kind of like 2 weeks of heaven where everything is just like glorious and wonderful. And then you get to that point of like, where it feels like everything starts like collapsing and shit hits the fan, because it's just, that's when the physical. Yeah. So that's where it's hard for people. And, even with that, I try to advise people when they're having energy work done, not to, Reiki's different because I feel like Reiki is more of like emotional, kind of shifting the energy to be able to process through stuff, which is really nice. But for people who are going through like intensive energy healings, don't overdo it. Give yourself some time and grace, because otherwise you're going to get nailed on the other end.
Oh, good advice.
That's great. You can't necessarily keep up with all of the shifting. Like if you dive hard into it and you don't know what you're doing, then you're going to basically have a mental breakdown, because you're going to be like, oh my God, this is just like way too much. This wasn't beneficial when it was beneficial, but you're not giving yourself time to kind of like go through the process. And that's when I feel like you'll notice people kind of backtracking. Like I always tell people, like when you clear something, you clear it as long as you get the root anyway. You clear it for good. It doesn't come back unless you ask it to come back.
Come back. It sure can.
Yeah.
It's more than welcome to if you ask it to, it will.
Yeah, right.
If you feel like something's missing from your life without that habit, you can invite it back in. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, Misty, I know you've got questions. You're a great speaker. You're great at explaining this stuff. You should write.
She's really good at explaining things. Theresa is. I love the way that you explain the process, because a lot of people don't understand that.
You did a great job.
I mean, as high as you get on that point, you can go just as low. That's how I think of it. So you got to get that medium kind of balance. how do you get that medium balance?
I think the biggest thing for me was working really hard towards releasing judgment of other people, which, basically, I remember I used to partake in the shamanic ceremonies that she would have. I shifted from there out of shamanism and then kind of went down a whole different road with energy healing and kind of like, full circle with a lot of stuff. But I remember they would have the full moon fire ceremonies where they would give you like a stick, she'd set space, you'd have a ceremony around the full moon and the fire, and you'd blow all of the energy that you wanted to release into a stick. So it's like you'd stand there, you have a stick, you blow all of the energy, all of the emotion, anything and everything that would come up, you blow it into the stick. Then throughout the ceremony, you'd throw the stick in the fire, and it kind of just like releases it. So, like how you can have like fire ceremonies with yourself of just like writing your intentions and kind of like releasing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember the night, oddly, that I was like, I want to release judgment. Like this is like what I consciously want to work on. Granted, it didn't happen overnight, but it started, everything. So because I was raised with a very judgmental mother, I don't think she necessarily intended it to be that way. But it also put a lot on me. And that's kind of, comes in later down the line of where I realized I was psychic, because I realized through past life regressions or meditations or just healing experiences that I had actually spent my entire childhood channeling my mom and her energy, because I didn't realize how empathic I was.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and it was really hard and really intense. So, I decided I wanted to kind of like release judgment. And then through that, I learned to release judgment of myself, because that's the biggest thing for people. Is you have to, you're not going to be perfect. Nobody's going to do it perfectly. It's not easy.
And perfect is just an idea anyway. There's no perfect way to live a life, but we all think, all of us, we all think something we're doing is wrong. We're doing something wrong. I'm like, if I feel like I'm not, if there's some part of me that's like, hey, everything's okay, I got to find something wrong. Just having something wrong,
Right.
Yeah, it's hard.
And I realized that it can kind of pull back on it and just enjoy the moment. That's one thing.
Yeah. So that was like the biggest thing that I basically, to get through the process is like you're not going to get it right the first time. Mm-hmm. And when you're healing and you're moving forward, you're naturally always going to regress. But there's nothing wrong with that, because you have to reset it and kind of learn how to deal with it from there forward. So even if you regress, you just pick it up from there with what you know, because you can't unlearn things. Once you know things, even with like your intuitive gifts or like the downloads that I'm basically giving anybody who's listening right now, you can't unlearn it. So even if you don't retain it and you don't understand now, you're still getting the energy transmission and you're still getting the information. And then when you're ready or when it's time, that's kind of when it all taps in. And then you're like, oh, you know what I mean? So like, it's totally normal for people to go back and forth. It's totally normal for people to like relapse into behavior, but it's up to you in that point, in that like quote unquote testing period, to say, am I going to stay here or am I going to say nope? And then kind of like move forward. So it's kind of like climbing the ladder, where it's like you take steps. It's okay to come back, but then you just keep climbing, which
getting
is
high up here. I'm scared of heights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I still catch myself. I'm still like, oh my God, like
the ladder never ends, listeners. It's a never staircase.
Yeah. No, it gets easier to understand and to comprehend. Like I said, once you kind of like learn the pattern and you pay attention to kind of like how the cycle's working, you're like, okay, I know this is happening. And then I've noticed, even with like depression and whatnot, because a lot of people will hit these lows outside of collective energy right now, which is extremely depressing for a lot of us to kind of just, especially intuitives, to just feel, experience, see
this weekend,
whether you're paying attention.
I was so depressed, and I don't know why. I was just so depressed all weekend, like crying, and it was, and Reiki, a friend and I both did Reiki at the same time, and it cleared up my emotions. It was a depression, emotional depression.
Yeah, it's
reason.
Really, it's really hard. Well, for yours, I feel like you pick up on somebody else. But before I go into that, so I just want to finish my thought. So I feel like, a lot of times too, when people get stuck in these really depressive ruts that last, more than just whatever it is that a lot of times it's just source trying to redirect you, which is so much easier said than done, because a lot of times it's you'll keep hitting walls and you're like, why do I keep hitting this? I thought I got it. Why do I keep hitting this?
Yes.
I thought I got it. But they just they narrow it down until they're just pop you through on the other side, and you're like, okay.
I'm tired of this.
Yeah. But then,
comes back.
Yeah. But yeah, Lisa, with you, so another thing, another really cool tool that I learned, especially being super empathic, is, I'm not sure if you do this or not, you may already do this, but really cool tip that I learned through being an empath is, when you start to feel feelings or emotions that come out of left field or don't really resonate with you, you might think of them and be like, oh, I'm feeling like this. I'm really low, but I don't really have a reason to feel like this. I'm not sure where this is housed from. As a lot of times you can pick up on energies in your house.
It may have been something like that in the neighborhood. I didn't think about that. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I was gonna say it could be, it could be your house, it could be your environment. Sometimes
I just moved into a new apartment complex or a condominium complex, and it's kind of small, isn't it, Misty? There's maybe 10 units or something.
But it's adorable. It's got good energy there, but
it does. But it has old energy. It's been here for a long time. It's been renovated and stuff. And I didn't think about that.
Uplifting though, but
the emotional issues. Yeah, it does have but the emotional issues that they were mine, I could tell in this case that they were the same ones from a long time ago that I thought I'd put to bed.
See,
and I was like, why is this going up?
I know, and it's hard to fix it. Like she was saying, it's not easy. It doesn't happen overnight.
Sometimes it comes up too, just to kind of breathe, where it's, everything you clear comes in layers. So a lot of times, because I honestly had been going through the same thing for months of just okay, I thought I worked on this stuff. I thought this stuff was gone. Why am I still feeling this? Why am I still being triggered? But a lot of times it's because you're working through that thread. So even if it's connected to a parent,
good point. Yeah.
A parent, or the way you were raised, or someone else who is kind of a monumental person in your life. That's part of being the empath, which I have learned that, as children, because we don't know any better, if we're in a stressful situation or around people who don't really have regulation, we try to take on their stress and their anxiety, which later becomes habitual and kind of personality traits.
Yes.
And then, and then we try to
we don't know we're
heal them. Try to heal them.
They don't know we're healing them.
Right. And we're taking on their energy too. Yeah.
You're right.
And then later down the road, we get to try to figure it out for ourselves, because we're okay.
So
man, Theresa, you are just a font of knowledge. I would love it if you came back to the podcast, because you
definitely.
You have a really great way of explaining things. It's just,
she does.
Oh, thank you.
We need it. You have a really great way of explaining things. How can listeners find you? And I know they want to find out more about you or get a reading from you or something. Where can they find?
So I don't have, I'm on Everclear under the name Philomena T. for anybody who wants to find me there. I do not have a private practice anymore doing readings. I do have a blog because I channel a lot. And it's theresatamic.blog. So it's T-H-E. Okay, perfect.
Oh, you go ahead and spell it out for people who don't like to read.
Okay. It's T-H-E-R-E-S-A. And then my last name is T-A-M as in Michael, M-I-K .blog. That's where you can find a whole bunch of my channelings or kind of like global premonitions. I have a YouTube channel also where throughout COVID, I kind of did, energy explanations of everything going on. And then occasionally I'll do them. I get a lot of requests to do them. I don't necessarily keep up because I have four children. I have 2 sets of twins, so they keep me busy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How old are they?
How did that happen?
5 and 2.
Oh,
you are busy. Yes, you're constantly doing energy work, aren't you?
Yeah, that's a 5 in numerology when you add them all together, I think. Which changes.
Yes, that's exactly. Yeah,
5 and 2
like
and twins.
Toddlers.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. That's so exciting.
Thanks for doing this podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, having time to do the podcast.
Yeah, definitely. Well, they're all in bed now, so it works. But yeah, and also my kind of like primary line of what I'm doing now is I am an artist. So I do intuitive art. I have one of my paintings behind me. But I do like pet portraits and intuitive art and kind of like full spectrum. Yeah, I keep myself busy.
And you're on Instagram, aren't you? Are you on Instagram with your art? Or?
Yes, it's Theresa Tamic Art. And then my art website is theresatamicart.com.
We'll put those in there too. That's awesome. Yes, that's awesome.
Thank you so much.
And I believe I looked at your profile on Instagram, but I think it was you that followed me, and then I followed because the names. I'm all like scattered all the time, but I was like, oh, that art. Right. Oh, why is there all this art on here? Oh, it's pretty. Yeah, yeah. So it was really cool. That's what confused me because I was like, I think it's her, but. Art's so cool. I'm gonna follow her.
Yeah, I used to offer readings and energy healing and work and stuff, but now that I have the kids, it just like takes too much energy, physical energy for me to kind of invest that into. So readings is fine, but
yeah. Oh, the healing can wear anyone out. Like. So I'd like to thank our sponsor, Everclear. Our Everclear is an advice app where you get advice from psychics and empaths, so you can get the clarity you need to create the life you deserve. And I want to say thank you, Theresa, so much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
If you want to come back, you want to do some more talking about anything, you would be perfect for it, I'm sure.
Yes.
So
I can talk. So
we'll just do one on art and empathy. I just throw that at you. We haven't had an artist podcast. Well, I had one artist talk a little bit about art. So that's about it.
Definitely.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you so much. And Misty, thank you.
Thank
you. Listeners, thank you so much. Oh, by the way, this is a video podcast. I forgot to say it in the beginning, but I'll put it in the description. Yeah, on Spotify. And listeners, we love you. Have a great time wherever you are. And peace out.
Bye.
Bye.